like right now, if I wanted to, I could just be in the business and not have any sign up anywhere. Just have all of my marketing online, and it wouldn't impact anything other than miss maybe a couple of people who walk around the neighborhood.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Hello. Welcome back to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, the go-to source for all things real estate in the vibrant capital city of Canada. I'm your host, Paul Stevenson, a seasoned mortgage agent, level 2, and I'm joined by the dynamic duo of real estate expertise, Greg Campbell, an accomplished realtor at the Campbell-Maric Group, and David Warren, also a mortgage agent, level 2, and owner at Referral Mortgages. Great intro. Together, we bring you an insider's perspective on the ever-evolving Ottawa real estate landscape. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Start your engines.
Wow, it's Monday.
And I was just thinking, I guess we don't need to talk about the weekend because we all know what happened, all three of us.
Yes, I can't read because of what happened this weekend, apparently. Can't read a teleprompter. No, weekend was good. We're waking up to a winter wonderland here in Ottawa. It was a very busy weekend. As I mentioned, I was at the Christmas markets with Sandra for the weekend, which was awesome, actually, at the Carleton University Fieldhouse. Must have been, well, there's 200 vendors. There had to have been at least, I don't know, thousands of people. Let's just say thousands. I don't want to make an accurate guess because it'll be wrong. But it was a good time. Good time. Good to see all the Christmas cheer. Lots of smiles.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good for people watching, too. Takes all kinds.
Yeah.
All kinds of characters.
Yeah.
Especially when you're just sitting there, being able to just people watch. It's glorious.
Yeah, they stare at your stuff, you stare at them. You know, it's kind of a give and take. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. What'd you guys get up to? Yeah, we were together on Saturday evening. It was fun.
Yeah,
we did that.
Well, we had my son Ollie's second birthday Saturday, so we had quite a packed house of probably about 20 kids and 30 adults. It was a pretty boisterous. I know Paul, Paul was at hockey or something or other. But then,
Market.
Met up with these guys later.
Yeah.
Good evening afterwards. Rough Sunday, but you know.
Yeah, it was a fun Saturday night. I had a long day that day too. Did a little photo shoot with Luca. Hung out with the fam at the Christmas trees at Chateau Laurier. And then, Sunday, work, open house, Santa Claus parade. What's that?
So open house Sunday. Weather wasn't obviously most favorable. How are we doing? I've talked to a lot of the realtors I know recently are saying they're kind of doubling down on open houses in 2024. That seems to be like this year was the worst year ever for open houses. It seems people are expecting that to change.
Yeah, I mean, 2024, I think, is definitely going to be more old school, traditional, more people having to learn how to run an open house better. I've been doing them a lot again, which was interesting because I haven't really done them consistently in years, and not that I couldn't do them, just that I had other people doing them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been interesting. I mean, you go in, if you're not busy, you do some work, you kind of go in with a plan. But I definitely have a good open house training program for agents that I can help.
Well, you know what they say, Greg, if you want something done right, you call your father.
You call your father.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Sounds like me. Or sounds like I can be your father.
Yeah. Call daddy is what you call big stuff.
Yeah. Where are we going with this?
Yeah. Recession. So there's an article we were talking about before we came on air here that says Canada's not quite in a recession, but we've seen 3 quarters of growth turn negative. So this was an article in CMT and talking about the economy is weak no matter how you slice it. So you can put whatever label on it, whatever name. We're doing great. The market's on fire. Like, no, it's been a very challenging year. As everyone knows, that 2023 has been very challenging economically for the majority of Canadians. I know we're talking later, but there's a lot of large organizations, corporations laying off thousands of employees. We've seen the actual quarter over quarter growth in the country has slowed or retracted. And, GDP figures are kind of reinforcing the rate hold for the Bank of Canada, which is good. but it also kind of projects what they're saying, June, July, sometime in 2024, they're going to have to turn the table because, we said this. It's funny. I sent you guys a short from maybe 6 months ago, and it was Dave, or he's a year ago, sorry. And Dave was saying with the most recent rate increases, we were talking about the Bank of Canada needs to see some, and we said like kind of blood in the streets, like they need to see some pain. They need to see all of these things happen before they're going to cut rates. We're seeing all of that now, or at least that stuff's already happened, and we're just seeing it in the news. But there's definitely been a lot of pain this year, and this article is kind of speaking to that. We'll make sure to put in the notes. But it says there was growing talk of the R word, recession, leading up to today's GDP data release, given the third quarter could have marked the second straight month of negative growth. Instead, markets received another R word, and this is exactly what we were talking to: revision. Okay? We don't want to say recession; it's a revision. Okay? We don't want to no doom and gloom. Well, what do you, Dave? You and I are obviously on this side of the coin more so than Greg. What have you been seeing? Like, does any of this surprise you based on the year we've had?
No, I mean, I think talking to anybody out there that, I feel, again, like anecdotally, just talking to friends or colleagues, anyone, clients, that it's only up until now that they've started, they've had savings or everything's been fine, but it's taken so long of the increased mortgage payments. And I heard from somebody that it's finally caught up even for them. And that like they're like holding on until hopefully some rate hikes, but I have a call later today with somebody to reevaluate their entire portfolio of what to do with their properties, with their mortgages. But having seen it take this long for big corporations, banks to only now have to start laying people off, it's definitely taken longer than I think the Bank of Canada was hoping it would. Typically, probably in that same clip from a year ago, what it takes 12 to 18 months for a rate hike to really ripple through the economy. And that's what the economists have said from the get-go. And so, we're now 12 months later from that comment that, that you were just mentioning that I made a year ago. We're 12 months later, and we're now starting to see the banks start laying people off. Their numbers came out last year for year end. Their loan loss provisions like really escalated, close to $1 billion. Some over, I think Scotia increased theirs to almost $1.3 billion in potentially bad loans. So what this is a loan loss provision, is where the banks will set aside an amount on their balance sheet, assuming that X dollar amount of loans are going to default. So TD increased this to $878 million. It was an increase of 42% from $617 million the previous year. CIBC, an increase of 24%. Scotia, over $1 billion at $1.3 billion that they're assuming will default. So, wow. Because of that they're now laying off, the numbers they're putting, TD announced 3,000 jobs being cut, Scotia the same, RBC similar. And so we're starting to now see that blood in the streets of kind of that rolling through, and companies just putting a hiring freeze on in general. And especially through the winter, typically we would see a lot of companies and retail stores doing temporary contract worker hiring spree. And we're not seeing that right now. And Steven just shared with us a video of a Dollar Tree in Toronto, and there's hundreds of people lined up for 2 positions at a dollar store. This is the time of year where you hear or see people, hiring signs at your retail stores, or they've been doing, big bulk up, but their sales are down. They're not hiring the same as they normally would. So I think we're finally just starting to see it.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly what's happening. It's been that slow ripple effect, and then everything kind of, they added on top of that. So as you said, we hadn't seen the result of the previous rate hike, and then they did another and another and then another and another and another and another. So we're just slowly now seeing that ripple. The other thing to consider too, as we've talked about previously, is that there's still like at least 2/3 of mortgages that are coming up for renewal next year. So, or in the next 2 years, next 3 years, probably 2 years. So there's a huge amount of people that, I think it even mentioned it in that article that you're talking about, the bank cuts. Majority of people haven't actually seen any increase to their monthly mortgage payment because of the way that the mortgages are structured. their payments haven't changed at all. So they haven't even felt that, as we say, pinch or that increase in costs. They haven't even felt that yet. So that's all going to be coming for those people in the next 12 to 24 months, which is then going to actually, increase all of those challenges that people are facing currently.
I mean, 24 months, the rates will probably be less as well, right?
Hopefully.
That seems to be the way. There's no guarantee, but that seems to be the way it's trending.
But if we, there's, RBC was in the news stating that 14% of their mortgage portfolio comes up for renewal in 2024. So what does this mean from a dollar amount? $52 billion in mortgages of RBCs coming up for renewal in 2024. So where those people are from a rate perspective, they'll be in for, and that's just RBC alone. I would imagine it's pretty similar for TD, et cetera. So we're talking, hundreds of billions in mortgages coming up this year in 2024 for renewal. These people are going to be in for sticker shock where, they might have been reading about it or anything like that, but it not being front of mind or realizing what that payment change looks like to their bottom dollar. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of, like I said, how those individuals are able to weather that or what they're looking at doing. And I think, to all of that, it's now more than ever, is it vitally important to shop your renewal around. Like, we've talked about in previous episodes for insured mortgages, even if you're a conventional mortgage, there are, what your bank is offering you. You do have other options to transfer and there are a mortgage professional, not the big banks, are able to help you in a better fashion of moving that mortgage way better rates than what the major banks are seeing. And those options are out there to save you a significant, like 0.25%, 0.5%, in some cases, even a full percent from what your bank is offering you. So for those that are coming up, it's going to be vitally important to look at, what all of your options are, not just take the first one.
And something else from a rate perspective or rate on the rate side of things, we talked about this recently, but happened twice this week to me, where when we're in a dropping rate environment, or we're seeing the bond rates go down and lenders are kind of slowly dropping rates come down a 0.25 point, they might drop the rate 5 basis points, 10 basis points. It's a slow drip. However, as brokers, we actually have the ability to float those rates down. So as we said, if we have someone closing even in February, like they're booked, their home isn't closing till February. If we got them a rate a month ago, we can drop their rate down to what the best rate is today. So that's a huge advantage of, like, when we're in a rate environment like this, where they're fluctuating all the time and you never know what's going to happen. If rates go up, you're still guaranteed your rate, but if they go down, we can actually take advantage of that lower rate. So another benefit, obviously, of working with Dave and I is that you do get that additional kind of outlook on what's there. But I wanted to actually read some of the points in this article because the numbers are very surprising, and I think it's important that everyone understands it. So with regards to the renewals, it says, despite interest rates having been elevated for over a year, Canada's largest bank said this is RBC, Canada's largest bank says the bulk of the impact is yet to be felt, with nearly 3/4 of its mortgage portfolio coming up for renewal over the next 3 years. To date, less than a third of mortgage clients have seen their payments impacted by higher rates. This was RBC's Chief Risk Officer, Graham Hepworth. The bank will see 14%, as you mentioned, Dave, of its mortgage portfolio come up for renewal in 2024, another 25%, or 89 billion in 2025, and roughly 90% of those fixed rate mortgages that currently have an interest rate of between 3.1 and 3.6%. Published rates by the bank currently range between 5.8 and 7.5. That's RBC. I would say it's probably 5.5 to 6.5, give or take, for standard A rates. It says delinquency is set to rise, but borrower credit quality remains strong. So as more people renew at higher rates and more of their income is used to service mortgage debt, we expect delinquencies and losses to increase in the retail portfolio. Like other lenders, RBC has already seen its mortgage delinquency rate trend upward over the past year. As of the fourth quarter, 0.15% of its mortgage portfolio is currently behind on payments 90 days or more. That's up from 0.13% in Q3 and 0.11 a year ago. So delinquency rates in Canada are always very low, as we've talked about many times. But certainly, if there was ever going to be defaults, it's going to be this year and next. This is the exact conditions in the market that you're going to see those numbers go up. So that's not surprising at all. That's still a very low number as far as with everything, with all the, as we say, with the blood in the streets, those are still very low delinquency rates. But again, with a lot of these people having not renewed yet, they're not seeing that doubling of mortgage payment or 60% increase in their mortgage payment or whatever that is. I saw a stat earlier that said that right now, based on the average home price in Canada, average income, et cetera, it's 66% of the average household income that's going just to pay the mortgage right now. And as we know, like when we're qualifying people, that number, all of your debts combined with the new mortgage payment have to be under, 44% of your income. So when we're looking at 60 to 65% of people's income that's going just to their mortgage, no other debts, that's a huge issue. Like that's going to definitely cause ripples throughout the economy, and we're seeing it.
I think there's
really positive episode, guys?
Yeah.
Positive episode.
Oh yeah.
The only thing positive is our laughter after making that statement.
Oh my gosh. As I said, I'm like, wow, I'm that guy now. Bring in the news.
But
the
I think
Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. Come for the laughs, leave feeling depressed. All right.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for people to realize that, that have mortgages, existing mortgages, like to kind of, again, be cognizant of, payments and all that and what to do. And for those that are in the market, whether you're a mortgage broker or a realtor, like, do that extra, like digging and understand the market and know what's coming up, because that's obviously all of this is going to impact properties coming up for sale because people can't afford them. So, whether it be inventory or foreclosures, which provides, does provide opportunities for buyers as well, being able to, buy. But there's a lot of there are a lot of properties on the market. But yeah, I think over the coming few months, it's going to be an increase in supply coming on of people that are closing on some new construction, people that, we're talking about just A banks. We're not even talking about B banks. So how many billions are coming up with alternative lenders that those got, in 2 years ago at a 3% mark, and they were having to qualify at, 50%, 60% TDS, where Paul mentioned the 44th threshold. That's with a major bank or an A bank, let alone an alternative lender, which sometimes that ratio goes out the window. Like you don't actually need it because of certain parameters and it's falling under different buckets. So those coming up for renewal as well, them being hit with I had somebody on the renewal just send it to me on Thursday. They're getting an offer from their alternative lender at 8.24%. They were at 6. Last they renewed at 6. Prior to that, they were at 3.5. And
they took the 6 with the hope of doing that for a year or two to then come down to the 4 again. Now they're renewing at, like you said, even higher than what they got, just to say. And even if they could come back to an A lender, they're going to get a comparable rate to what they got with that short-term solution. So yeah, there's no real easy conversations, at least on our side. And I know we said this, and obviously no one has that crystal ball except Greg. But to me, like when we see rates start to come down, regardless of the economy, at least in Ottawa, prices are going to go up again. That's just like people qualify for more, they stretch the limit a bit more, and they're buying more. That's just how it is. But if we see, as you said, Dave, this could shift where all those people that are renewing, if they do have to list, we see more supply, could bounce prices out, which would be the ideal. If we can actually get like a true balanced market where rates are reasonable, home prices are reasonable, and people can actually, we can actually see more transactions happening, people actually getting into homes. I wanted to go back to the banks for a minute, because for me, especially coming from the banking background, I have a bit of I don't want to say a tainted view, but it frustrates me when we constantly see, record profits in the middle of a huge economic, everyone's struggling and the banks are recording record profits and, another quarter of trillions of dollars in profit. It's kind of like, okay, well, something's got to give. And then you hear them cutting 3,000 jobs.
Staff. I know.
And it's like, oh, okay. So that's where the profits are. I see. So, let's say 3,000 people at, let's just say an average of 65,000 a year. Let's just say, so that's about 200 million a year saved in those job cuts. But looking at these numbers, it says that Royal Bank, Canada's biggest lender, they set aside 720 million to cover loans that either aren't currently being paid back as planned, or the bank is worried might soon. You mentioned that, Dave. The figure is up by 89% from 381 million a year ago. So they're ready. It says at TD, the bank set aside 878 million in provisions, an increase of 42%. And CIBC set aside 541. When you get into these numbers, it's like, whatever, 200 trillion. It doesn't matter. The numbers are all the same. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of money. But this is where I wanted to see. It says at Royal Bank, the bank posted a quarterly profit of 4.13 billion, up from 3.88 billion a year earlier. So, they're showing an increase in quarterly profits, but they're also laying off thousands of people. So, like,
that doesn't even come close to the quarterly profit.
No. It says a TD profit fell from 6.67 billion to 2.89 billion, but it too felt confident enough to increase its payout to shareholders. So they increased their dividend to pay out shareholders. CIBC also raised its dividend to 90 cents, up from 87, as its profits increased from 1.19 billion to 1.48 billion. So it's funny, they have this one section about the bank profit, and then the very next heading is job cuts. So they're talking about all these profits that they're getting. Not to be too negative here or throw shade, but it doesn't add up. You know what I mean? Like, you're showing these record profits or quarterly increase in profits, except TD, but they're laying off all these people. So it just, I don't know. It's a bizarro world. It's Banana Republic over here.
What we're saying, everyone, is find a way to stick it to the man.
No,
find a way.
But
I'll always get you.
It just seems like there's a disconnect there, right? It's
big time.
Yeah. What are you seeing, Greg? What's going on your side of the coin?
I'm seeing sales. It's the same as it was last week. There's the higher end isn't really moving. Some of the lower end is getting lower, and then that mid-range properties are doing okay. I did do an average check of, it was interesting, after I saw those 3 neighborhoods last week that we posted the average days on market, looking at about 30, 35. Across the city, the average days on market right now is 55 from what I can tell.
That seems more realistic.
That seems more realistic and, accurate in the grand scheme of things right now. But people are out. Like I said, the open houses, there's more open houses. There's people coming through. I had some this weekend. 2 had a home to sell. It was really interesting. Mine's $1 million. These guys were both selling homes that were like a 1.175 and 1.2. And I was like, so you're kind of downsizing? It was like they had bigger lots. They didn't want it anymore, but I hadn't seen that, especially 2 in one day. And their homes are obviously going to be sitting for a little while too. And then we had someone in who was renting. But I am seeing a lot of the visitors in my open house the last couple of weeks were new families or soon to be new families looking to get that almost like that forever home, I guess, right away.
I think we should do a weekly stat update, Greg, for total listings and new listings coming out, because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people remove their home. Remember, we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to take their homes off the market. We'll try again in the spring. And I personally, as we talked about, I think they're missing out on a lot of good opportunities, because the people, as you said, people buying in the winter are motivated buyers. Like they're ready to go. And I don't think you're losing. I'm not a realtor, so certainly don't take this as gospel. I like to stay in my lane. But I would imagine, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're not really losing much, especially in the current market, like the way things are currently. Like having it on there for that extra 2-3 months, even if you don't drop the price.
It's not going to make a difference, because you're already having a hard time selling.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So what's the point? Like, if you want to do something like take the sign down, if you're tired of looking at the sign, take the sign down. People are going to see it anyways. The sign, having a for sale sign up, I think it's not as important as it used to be. It used to be like, people driving around neighborhoods and seeing the sign up and, calling off the sign, but it's not like that anymore, because everybody finds everything online.
Yeah.
So if you just don't want the sign there anymore, just ask your agent to take it down. Like I had somebody, and, I even suggested that we just not put one up for now, just because of where we were sitting, like, and so you don't have the neighbors talking. She's a very private person anyways. But, but we've got some with signs up. We've got a lot of, we've got 4 coming out this week. We've got 3 up now. Sorry, 3 up now, 2 coming this week. So, I mean, and that's just their listing now. And that post that I did, the reel that we put up about the listing in the winter, someone chimed in and commented that, well, thanks for this. This is great information. You've made me decide that I'm going to keep my home on for the holidays and for the winter. Right. And I was like, good. I think it's a wise thing to do.
There's always, every year, I seem to always get a purchase agreement between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh,
Like, I
interesting.
get at least one
Really? Yeah.
every year. There are, like, to that point, there are people, because people have downtime between that period. They're not working in a lot of cases. So if they have it on their mind that they're going to move,
setting goals
like
for the year.
they're thinking about, that new year coming, setting goals, but also they're still, they're sitting with idle hands at home and kind of perusing Realtor, if you will, like, or the MLS. But yeah, for whatever reason, I always seem to get one between it. It makes that I can't actually fully do nothing during that period for myself, but which I actually have to then work. But yeah, I always find that interesting, regardless of the year.
To your question, Paul, or to your comment about the cancellations, listings, and whatnot, I do have it up here now. Canceled in Ottawa in the last 7 days, 264 listings. Now, my guess is that
they expired.
More than half of those, I'd say maybe 3/4 of those are actually going to relist. Maybe a quarter won't relist. That's a pretty big number. And then we have 443 new listings. So, I mean, to compare that to the cancellations would be interesting. 228 price decreases.
Out of how many listings?
400. No, that wouldn't be right. I don't know what the current over for the entire market is, but there was 443 new listings. So some of those could be relists from the cancellations, but price decrease 228 of whatever's on the market right now. 800, 108.
So you're saying it's not a seller's market?
No.
Yeah,
definitely not. 181 conditional sales though, which is pretty good, especially for this time of year. I would say 224 sold. Actually,
I found it. Your comment about the lawn signs is very interesting, and I never really thought of it. It's just expected, right? Like, oh, it's listed. There's a realtor sign, but I wonder. Yeah, it used to be a conversation starter, as you said. You would literally, there was no internet. You just drive around, and be like, oh, there's a for sale. There's a home for sale here. Like, oh, let's go look at this one, right? You do a tour and just go look at houses on a Sunday on the Sabbath. But now with obviously realtor.ca and all the virtual tours and like everything, like you basically can know the property before even going to see it. Like, I'm sure that's why open houses, have been down as well. Like, people can, unless they're super interested in the home, it's not the same process that it used to be where you'd actually walk the streets with your realtor. Or even you as a realtor, Greg, you'd go door to door and like actually introduce yourself and ask people if they're thinking about listing. Like, it's a totally different market now, right? So those signs on the lawns, like, to me, you're right. It's almost just like a good marketing placeholder,
It's letting your neighbors know.
Well, that's it. It's letting the neighbors know. And to be honest, like, I mean, if you're a realtor and, if you're magically one of those agents that can, you put your sign up amidst 8 other signs in the neighborhood, and for some reason yours sells, you know what I mean? Maybe, like, what was the strategy? Maybe you'll get a call. You know what I mean? When the sign goes up, it's kind of like a calling card for the agent. When we put our last one up over there, we got calls for CMAs right away, just to let the neighbors know. And everybody's watching the house. Like, oh yeah, I was telling you guys the other day, when I went to the open house, I was just walking in the driveway and this guy pulls up to me and he's like, hey, you're the guy from the show, which was amazing. But he's thinking about selling his, and he's waiting to see what happens with ours.
He's a realtor, or this is a
no. He's a seller. He's just a homeowner in the neighborhood. But he's like, you're the guy from the podcast. I recognize you from the podcast. He says loves the show, and but that's the thing. But he's watching that listing. So I mean, for me to be there, for him to see the sign, the new sign, especially since the change and everything, that's cool. Like, I mean, if you become more active in the neighborhood, but you could honestly. I wouldn't surprise me if, right now, if I wanted to, I could just be in the business and not have any sign up anywhere. Just have all of my marketing online, and it wouldn't impact anything other than miss maybe a couple of people who walk around the neighborhood and aren't looking for a home, and then they would see the sign, and as a marketing tool.
So
yeah, and no matter what, like that's it. It's shifted. Like the purpose of it is shifted, but I think there's still immense value in that. Like
there is,
like,
there
oh
is.
wow,
and
another TCMG listing. Oh, another.
And it's true,
TCMG
and it's
listing.
like we say, it only takes one person, right? That's one person sees it at the right time in the right moment, like they just, and that's what makes it happen. Whether it's a sale of the home or whether it's interest in meeting a new person in the business to start a relationship with. I
just thought of my own, like personally, you guys know that I put out those signs, that I was putting out signs for people to take selfies in front of and so on. And just that alone, like those weren't even lawn signs. Those were just, well, they were lawn signs, but not like at a property that I'm listing. They were just randomly around Ottawa, and people would still comment and be like, I just drove past your sign. I just saw this. So it does, like people do see it. It does make them think of you. But Greg, your sign specifically, I think next week we're going to have to do the one word. We'll just pull it up and tell people like in one word, hey, what do you think about my sign? We had some pretty funny funny responses.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Elegant, classy. Hey.
Yeah, we had the new signs. It was what? Rich, elegant, classy, and then the last one, eye doctor.
Yeah.
She's like, I feel like I'm at the eye doctor. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
We'll show. Yeah, we'll post it up in the show.
Your new signs are amazing. They look very sharp.
Thanks.
And unique. They're one of a kind.
Trying to
just
be
like you, Gregory. Just like
you.
Yeah. What do you think about the mood boost, gentlemen?
Yeah, let's slide into them.
Boosting my mood. I'm going to go shoot some videos.
Yeah, I think we need to, after a lot of doom and gloom today, we apologize for everyone. We also started a bit slow. I think it was my lack of being able to read the intro got us off on the wrong foot. So we're back now, though. It's early. It's first thing Monday morning. We're even into it here.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Let's go.
All right, number one.
Sure.
I think my phone is broken. I press the home button and I'm still at work. Number two, if you drive a Subaru in reverse, what are you? You are a bus.
It's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Question. Do you think passwords are allergic to luggage? I only ask because they're case sensitive.
Hey.
Okay.
Case sensitive.
The second one's clever.
Should we start doing shorts and reels with the mood boosts? Maybe, eh?
Yeah, just one of the reels a week, just mood boosts.
Mood boosts.
It'd be like the toe wrap mood boost. I mean, it might need its own channel.
Exactly.
December 18th, gentlemen. We're now the month up. So that's 2 weeks away from today. We have rented the Breather studio. My Byword office.
No, it's my Byword office now. Yeah.
My Byword office from 1 until 5:30. We're probably going to be recording 2 to 4. So for anyone who's interested, message us. Come by. If you're a realtor, you're a mortgage agent, you're a lawyer, you're an inspector, anyone who's in the industry, even a listener, you want to come by and say hello. We're going to have a little powwow,
We better bring a lot of eggnog. Could have a bunch of people at the door.
Please message us ahead of time. Let us know
I'll hire
so we can
security.
Figure it. Yeah.
Yes. We're not. There's no job opening.
I may as well just DJ the whole time. We'll be on air. I'll just beats in the background.
Yes. Just put the headphones down and come over and chat for a few minutes.
Vibing.
Yeah.
At least we know if we make it a party, we know that we'll get the people that we want there, right? Maybe Jeff O'Toole is going to show up.
Who knows? I'd love to hear
it. Would be amazing.
His take on things for sure.
He's definitely not listening this late in the show, so he's just reading the headline and making comments, right, Jeff?
I think that was Steven laughing in the background. All right, everyone, we'll be back next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m., and then the following week, live from downtown Ottawa. Woo! Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Later.
Deuces.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.